What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live, presented by Bet Online. Today we're doing a live Q&A. We're going to talk about GP2, but he didn't play last night, and I have a Believe in Blazers podcast they'll be dropping after this, where Stephen Vaughn and I talked with somebody from the Bay Area about GP2, so it's a really insightful conversation. So if you want more GP2 talk, that's what that'll be for. I don't want to drop it too close to the game last night. Those don't tend to do too well, so that'll be dropping later today, either probably around 6 or probably around 9:30, because I got Rec League tonight, Eric. Anyway,
nice.
Today, yeah, Q&A, chill Q&A. Hopefully it'll be chill. Please be chill, chat. Don't no trade Dame stuff. Let's not get that going today. This is supposed to be the second channel, the chill channel, not the post-game channel for a reason, all right? So I'm just trying to relax and have a good time and answer some questions today. And then we got 4 games for picks against the spread. Eric, how is your Thursday?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty chill. How about yours?
It's been pretty chill, but we'll see if that continues. Yeah, just kind of relaxing today. Anyway, I'm ready for picks against the spread, man. Let's jump into this thing. Here are the standings. Oh, I didn't update the standings. That's the one thing I didn't update. Here are the standings. And as you can see, we've had a drastic change because on Monday, Jackson, was he number 1 going into the day?
Yeah.
He went 1-10. 1-10 for Jackson. He's fell from first to now he's 6 games behind first. Connor has been on a tear lately, on an absolute tear. He's taken over first, but not just that. He is 5 games ahead of second, which is you, Eric. I didn't do too well, but I did better than you and Jackson. I'm sitting there tied with Jackson now for third, with a chance to move up to second. You had Chat, Trevin, and Aeromancer make up some ground. And Zach has fallen into last place with the 3-8 day.
Yep. Set. Okay.
Did I make a mistake? Is that no? That's right. All right. Any thoughts? You got any thoughts?
Wait,
I don't know what you're thinking about.
Was Connor ahead of me last stream? I don't remember.
I think so. Connor was like tied for second last stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, quite the rise. We were talking about how we want people to be above 500, so we look better, and there was 3 people above 500 on Monday. Well, now there's only 1 still, and it's Connor. So congrats to Connor on taking the lead. You do got some people nipping at your heels. Chat, you guys are slightly pulling it together, but still 16 games below 500 is not great. It's not great.
And Aeromancer is being cringe in the chat.
Oh, goodness. What is Aeromancer doing? I don't know. Let's just jump into the first game, and I'll take a look at whatever he's doing. Game number 1. You got Orlando versus Memphis, and Memphis is a 6.5-point road favorite.
All right. Both of these teams played last night, and for the injuries, Desmond Bane's going to sit out the second night of a back-to-back. Brandon Clark is out, and, of course, Danny Green is out for Memphis. For Orlando, they have Bull out, Mo Wagner out, RJ Hampton out, Chuma Okeke, Jonathan Isaac all out.
Looks like Jonathan Isaac is almost going to play again.
Yeah, he said it was still a few weeks away, but yeah. It's cringe, Aeromancer, because that's like the 8 millionth time that joke has been made.
Hey, he's a rookie. He doesn't know he's only seen it 4 million times.
He's done it before this year already. And tanking is not an excuse for your picks being crappy. So make better picks instead of saying you're tanking.
Get bullied, Aeromancer. Oh my goodness. Also, Reese said Trevin be above 500 for a whole season challenge, and Trevin deleted the comment.
Oh, man.
So I'm giving Trevin the challenge to stop abusing his mod powers now. Anyway, I wouldn't have read it out, but I had to. All right, we got Memphis for Connor and Trevin.
I'm going to take the Magic. Do we have Jackson missing again?
Man, Jackson. You can send in your picks if you're gonna miss. It's not too difficult. We are flexible. I'm gonna go with goodness. I'm gonna go with Memphis.
All right.
Let me do the darker Memphis logo because that'll be further. There we go. All right, so Grizzlies were Zach, Connor, Trevin. I feel more confident in this pick now that Connor is going with them as well, because Connor is just godly lately. Oh, whoops, that's...
Island me.
Gladly. I gotta change the names of this. That's Connor. This is Jackson. Well, Jackson has 15 minutes to show up and make his pick for that one. Memphis for Aeromancer. And then chat is 50-50 right now. Next vote breaks the tie, chat. They go Memphis. 51% of the vote. We can vote on Double Down, by the way, because there's only 4, so we can do a poll for that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see what Jackson does. Jackson has not been sending in his picks or showing up lately. So game number 2, you got Dallas hosting the Boston Celtics. Boston is also a 3-point road favorite.
Yeah, all 3 out of the 4 games actually have road favorites tonight. The Celtics are without Gallinari. Is the only one listed on their injury report, and of course he's out for the year, so basically no one. For the Dallas Mavericks, they're without Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green, and Maxi Kleber.
All right. I feel like Boston has the length and athletes to maybe give Luka some trouble. Dallas has been on a winning streak, but I like the way Boston matches up with them. I'm going to go with Boston.
Trevin went Boston as well. I'm going to go Mavericks. And chat, once again, keep in mind that there is a point spread. It's not just picking the winner outright. The point, if it's a minus number, that team has to win by that amount.
Yep.
People's Mix wants a timeout, I guess. Saying the magic word.
Cool. Appreciate it. Appreciate the assist. Mr. 1 Kevin Reese. All right, Connor is MIA.
Aeromancer says
this is tough. And it looks like chat is probably going to go Celtics. And it looks like I need to cue up the Jeopardy music. Boston for chat. It was running away with it, so there we go. The Mavericks for Aeromancer. And if Connor doesn't make his pick in 10 seconds, I'm moving on. Next game. You should know the next game because they're all at different times.
Yeah.
Mavs for Connor. There we go. Mavs for Connor. Alrighty. Game number 3. You got Houston hosting the Utah Jazz. Utah is a 7-point road favorite.
So in this one, we have Colin Sexton out for the Jazz. He's their only player listed. And the Houston Rockets look like everyone's playing. Eric Gordon not on the injury report, and Jayshawn Tate making his return tonight. So only one injury in this game as of right now.
Rockets for Connor. I'm also going to go with the Rockets.
I'm taking the Rockets too.
Oops, I put the wrong team as the home. Oh, well. Jazz for Trev. Romancer goes Rockets. Zach goes Jazz. And chat, you guys are going with the Houston Rockets.
Jackson is typing.
Interesting. Anyway.
On Discord.
I know. He says he's rewatching the injuries. All right, he'll get us his pick soon, and we can fill it out. All right, let's just do the last one then. Philadelphia is hosting. No, that's not right.
Nope.
That's not right.
It's Clippers
Denver is hosting the Los Angeles Clippers. Yeah, I just forgot to put in the. I don't know. That was weird. Denver's hosting the Los Angeles Clippers, and Denver is a 6-point home favorite.
Yep. So for the Clippers, Nick Batum is out. Paul George questionable, but Kawhi Leonard is not on the injury report. For the Nuggets, Jeff Green and Peyton Watson are out. So another relatively healthy game.
I don't like picking Nuggets games.
I don't like picking Clippers games when that's a late game and there's someone questionable. But I'm going to take the Clippers.
I'm also taking the Clippers.
Connor is too. What's up, Carson?
What's up, Carson? Clippers for Trev. Zach goes Nuggets. Clippers for Arrowmancer. Lots of agreement today.
Who are we rooting for as a Blazer fan in this game?
Neither.
Yeah.
Tie.
Well, probably the Nuggets because it's more realistic to pass the Clippers at this point.
A 20 overtime game. That's what I'm rooting for. All right, Jackson, I know you're here. Oh, he's rewound, huh?
Who am I missing? Arrowmancer. Clippers. All right, let's see.
Thank you, Jackson.
He has to like dry his eyes after crying after seeing he went 1 for 10 on.
Yeah. Since we're waiting for Jackson, here's one last look at the standings going into today. And yeah, if you look at Jackson there last Monday, is that maybe the worst day ever in picks against the spread history?
No, there has to be some offers. I mean,
but like 1 in 10 is worse than like 0 for 6.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like there's been 1 for 10s this year before.
I don't think so. I don't think there's been a 1 for, I don't remember seeing a 1 for 10.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah, that's actually quite impressive. Like at this point, I don't know why he's trying to logically think about all the injuries today and everything, because he logically tried to do things Monday logically, right? And if he did things illogically, he would have went 10-1. So
yeah. Well, in his defense, there were some questionable stuff happen. Like the NBA ruled 2 of the Cavaliers' baskets that sent the game into overtime shouldn't have counted. So that should have been a win for the Bulls. Instead, the Cavs cover in overtime. And then the Warriors get a tip in from Kevon Looney. Probably should have lost in regulation as well, or in the first overtime too. Otherwise, they wouldn't have covered either. So some unfortunate stuff.
Yep. Okay, we got Jackson's picks. He went to Memphis.
I already put that for him.
So Eric Island with the Magic. He went Mavs, so we got a split vote. Cool. Down for that. He went Jazz, so 3 versus 5, mixing it up. And he went with the Nuggets, so no island for you, Zach. And he doubled down on Memphis. All right, let's jump into the double downs. Memphis for Jackson, and then let me know what I need to do to make the poll.
Okay. It is Grizzlies -6.5 versus at Magic.
All right.
Celtics -3 at Mavericks.
Okay.
And then the Rockets at home 7-point are underdogs against the Jazz, so +7 against the Jazz.
All right.
And then the Clippers at the Nuggets +6.
Clippers at +6 at Denver, Houston +7 at Utah, Boston -3 at Dallas, and Memphis -6.5 at Orlando.
The Jazz are the road team in that one. I don't know if you said that right, but that's the only one. Yeah.
I was gonna say they picked all 4 road teams. It would have been wild. All right, there we go. I didn't title the poll, but it doesn't need a title. This is for your double downs chat. I didn't even know it would submit a poll if I didn't title it, but it did. All right, so what else we got? We got Nuggets for Zach. We got Clippers for Aeromancer.
By rule, I have to do my island, so I'm gonna double down on the Rocket or the Magic.
We're going for the all blue graphic today.
So just need Trevin. Trevin, chat, and you. Trevin went Memphis. It's going to be one of those where multiple people take Memphis and it's wrong again.
Going Houston, Boston. I don't know who I want between Houston and Boston. Who went Memphis?
Trevin. Trayvon.
Alrighty.
Bain and Clark are out for Memphis. Kevin Reese.
Looks like it's Memphis for chat. What did Connor go with?
Rockets.
I also have to go Rockets.
Didn't want to possibly lose 2 games on the Celtics one.
I mean, it doesn't matter if I go Rockets or Celtics. They're both right, so I'm not worried, but I don't know what you're on about, Mr. I went 4-7 on Monday. I'm right on your heels, by the way. Same pick percentage.
Nice.
For me, you, and Jackson.
Yep.
And it's below 50%, which is sad. Anyway, that's picks. against the spread. You'll be able to see the score for this first game in the bottom ticker. Somebody suggested making the bottom ticker slide from top to bottom. That'd be cool. What'd you just show?
Nothing.
Oh, interesting.
I just saw my paper from the other night. So.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Anyway, Q&A time. Just give us questions. We'll answer them. Easy.
Did you see your Devontae Kaycock fan, his tweet yesterday?
No, what did he tweet?
He had inside information about that Grant is declining the extension and that we should get rid of him and sign Devontae Kaycock.
Does our fan base seem extra drunk this year, Eric?
Kinda, I don't know, extra, but yeah.
Like, our community's pretty good, but, dude, I swear, like, our fan base feels extra drunk this year.
The best part, Tori, do you know where he got that information from?
Where did he get that from?
A tweet by TJ Prestige, you know who that is?
Oh, God.
Who claims that he had inside information that Grant was not going to accept in between his hating on Lillard and calling him Monte Lillard or whatever he does, Dame Ellis.
Oh, this fan base.
So I DM'd him.
Well, that dude's not a fan.
He said that he got it from him and he can trust him because he's unbiased because he hates Dame. It's hilarious.
Oh my goodness, yeah, unbiased because he hates Dame. I love it. Anyway, we'll tell him if Grant signs the extension, he's never allowed to talk about Devontae Kaycock ever again. I
don't think he would agree to that, but
yeah, true. He can't stop talking about Kaycock. So, thoughts on trading Hart is a good question. I don't think he's necessarily bad, but if there's one area we need to upgrade besides bench, I feel like it's the 3 spot. Well, here's the thing. No team is going to give up a ton for Josh Hart because, A, he's having a bit of a down year, or at least it looks like that statistically. And
except rebounding.
Yeah, except rebounding. He's having a down year, and he's probably going to be a free agent, right? So what team is going to give up a bunch of value for that? Like, we're selling low. That's like the lowest point his value could be at is right now.
Mm.
Like, what trade out there is good for Portland where Josh Hart could be the main piece involved? The only way a Josh Hart trade makes any sort of sense is if he's salary filler alongside other assets. Like Hart and Sharp and a first round pick or 2 for OG Anunoby, right? But that's also, I don't think Toronto does it for just 1 first, and I'm not doing it for 2. I don't even know if I do it for 1. So that's what trade out there with Josh Hart makes sense for Portland. I don't really know. Here's the thing. With how he's played this year, I could see him accepting his player option, which would be the best case scenario for Portland, because then the offseason he's tradable salary, and it's like, what, $12 million? I think that's reasonable for Josh Hart. Josh Hart's best role is coming off the bench. I want Josh Hart and Gary Payton II off the bench. Like, in the next year and a half, I want to figure out a starting 3. And it doesn't even have to be somebody better than Josh Hart. It can just be like a 3-and-D guy who's maybe a little better defender on ball and a little bit more consistent 3-point shooter. And then you bring Josh Hart off the bench. So, like, dude, even a Kendrick Williams would be nice to have on this team. I think you could start him at the 3, and he can just knock down open threes and play some defense. Just somebody like that or better. And that's the thing. Those types of guys, the idea is that they're cheap salary-wise, and they're cheap in terms of the assets you have to give up, and then you just keep Josh Hart. I don't understand the whole notion that you have to trade him.
Yep. And, there's been some talk about it being impossible to re-sign him, which isn't true. We can re-sign him up to, I think it's like 22.5 million or something, which he's
Yeah.
obviously not going to make that much. So we can offer him any amount with the bird right or early bird rights. We don't have full bird rights, but that doesn't matter if he's not a max contract player. So, so the way I've looked at it, I've been consistent with this all year. Josh Hart is a rotational piece on a good team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He can be, your seventh or eighth guy. You can argue semantics whether him being a starter is a problem or not, but I don't think that matters when you're talking about your fifth starter versus him coming off the bench. He's playing about the same minutes.
Yeah, because there is a comment I
Theoretically,
want to react at a little bit.
theoretically in either role, but I think the problem with Josh Hart this year is he's not able to be his all-out self on the court when he's playing 34, 35 minutes a game. So I think whatever you do,
Yeah.
you need to find a way, and I know it's hard right now because of injuries, but need to find a way to get him closer to, 28 minutes or so at the most, and then he can go all out in those minutes. He's not having issues where he's getting tired in the fourth quarter and things like that. And if he's running with the bench unit more, maybe just the fact that he has the ball a little more has to create a little more. Maybe that'll snap him out of his hesitancy this year to shoot the ball. And yeah, so I think that's where we're at. And I don't think you have to trade Hart. And I've said this all year. You only trade him if the player that's coming back in that trade is better than Josh Hart. So if you're trading him, I saw like Sadiq Bey earlier. Sadiq Bey at this point is not better than Josh Hart. I mean, yeah, he might shoot threes more often, but he's not shooting them at a high clip or anything. So like right now, that's probably a downgrade. Now you can make an argument salary wise and having him locked up for next year and all that stuff. Sure. But like, that doesn't help us this year if you're talking about strictly trading him to improve the roster this year.
Yep. And there's a comment that says, wait, what? You want Hart off the bench, but you have an issue with Anthony Simons as the sixth man? Make it make sense. Bro, what are you talking about? Do you think Josh Hart is as good as Anthony Simons? The what? Like, what are we talking about here? As if Anthony Simons is not much better than Josh Hart. Yes, I want Josh Hart off the bench in the future and Anthony Simons starting because Anthony Simons is a star caliber player and Josh Hart is a role player. What part of that doesn't make sense? I am very confused by that comment. I don't understand. Eric, can you help me understand that comment?
I mean, okay, so there's a difference when you're talking about Dame and Ant, staggering their minutes versus one coming off the bench. That doesn't matter in my opinion. But as of right now, I think it's fair to say, now that Josh's defense the last few weeks hasn't been good either, that he's not really the right mix with the players in the starting lineup. Whereas Anthony and Dame are going to play the same amount of minutes, whether they're coming off the bench or not. It just changes when they play together or not. But Josh going to the bench actually changes his role, in my opinion, and hopefully for the better. Because with the starters right now, I feel like Tori mentioned last night, teams are kind of sagging off him a lot. It's packing the paint in and making it tough for other players. Whereas if he was more of a facilitator off the bench, you'd have multiple facilitators between Ant, GP2, and Hart theoretically. I think that's much more suited for him. But he's not like playing at an all-star level or near all-star level or, screw the all-star saying. Just, he's not playing at a high enough level compared to Grant, Dame, and Lillard to where you can make a case like, oh, he shouldn't go to the bench. But everything with Ant, I feel like, is completely unfair. I just don't get it at all.
I mean, Ant is the new CJ, so you have to have people that just say things like Simon's not ready for big time, as if that means anything. And people want to bench Simons and Hart. Like, we got talent at the 2-guard spot, young talent, averaging 22 a game pretty efficiently. Yeah, we need to bring him off the bench, even though he already plays with the freaking bench. Bro, stop. Just stop with the bench Simon stuff. It's never going to happen. We literally had this conversation for years with CJ. Benching Simons makes no sense because either you're like cutting his minutes, which makes the team worse. Right now he's playing 36 minutes a game, 18 minutes a half, right? There's 24 minutes and a half. Think about this. You're either cutting his minutes, which makes the team worse. You're either subbing him at the 6-minute mark and then playing him 18 minutes straight, meaning he's going to be tired at the end of halves. And his production's likely going to plummet, and he's still going to be finishing with the starters at ends of halves and playing with the bench still, like he already is. Or you're subbing him in like 3 minutes, 4 minutes into the game, then giving him a couple minutes rest later on in the half. But if you're subbing him in 3 minutes into a game, what's the point in just not starting him? Like, what are you accomplishing bringing him off the bench? If you're cutting his minutes, it's bad. If you're playing him 18 minutes straight, it's bad. If you're subbing him in 3 minutes into the half, it doesn't make a difference. Other than maybe piss off everybody on the team because they know he's a top 3 talent on this team, and why is he coming off the bench? So, the bench Simon stuff is as ridiculous as the bench CJ stuff was, because I always try to explain how it didn't actually accomplish anything and didn't make any sense, because you're either making the team worse or you're not accomplishing a single thing. So it just comes across as hate to me. That's why it gets annoying seeing bench Simons, bench Simons, bench Simons.
Well, you know what makes even less sense to me? Trade Simons, trade Simons, trade Simons, for reasons why we need a better defense with and potentially clearing the room way for Sharp to start. Sharp statistically is one of the worst defenders in the league. So people who say that they want to trade one of Ant or Dame because the backcourt can't work because of defense, but they want to substitute that with a worse defender. That makes no sense.
In the next 2 years, it would be trade Sharp. We need a better defense. It was trade CJ, clear room for Ant. Now it's trade Ant, clear room for Sharp. Guess what? It'll be trade Sharp and clear room for the next guy, because that's how it's just one track. Like, that's the mindset that some people are accustomed to and they can't get out of the rut.
Yep.
Like, come on, man. This defense is like adjusted defensive rating going into last night. I don't know what it is after last night, but we were like 16th. And offensively, we were 9th. The defense and offense actually aren't that drastically different, and the bench sucks. Just get a better bench and then see what happens. Because this defense is better than it's been, and part of that is Ant is a better defender than CJ ever was. But he gets no credit for that. And it drives me crazy. So I'm tired of the random Simons hate, and it's usually the same people with just bad takes, and I mean, I don't know, like, nobody can tell me, there's a comment that says a lot of people think Simons should be 6-man. Nobody can ever tell me what that would accomplish other than cutting his minutes, or playing him 18 minutes straight to end a half, which he's still playing minutes with starters, and he's just going to be gassed at the end of halves.
Mm-hmm. So Ant is our best trade asset, though. I mean, okay, so give a realistic trade scenario for Ant then.
Yeah, that's the thing. You like people view trades too much in a, I don't know how to explain it. Like,
well, okay, so I can explain this.
Yeah.
So all season we've been also saying, what about a big trade, right?
What about a big trade?
In terms of, like, what big name can you see the Blazers acquiring this year?
OG's the one that's been tossed out.
Yeah, but, like, we usually say we think it's probably more likely in the offseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, people say, like, I don't know, people don't accept that, right? They just think, like, no, we have to make a move now. It has to be now. And it's like people aren't patient. Like, we're set up to make a big trade, including if you want to trade Ant. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to trade him right now versus in the offseason when we have other assets to possibly get a Kevin Durant or a Pascal Siakam instead of OG or whatever the best Julius Randle, like it's set up right now to where we're talking about players. We're either going to have to super overpay for a player like OG, or there's not really anyone out there that's better than Hart at the 3, unless one of the guys on our team already outdoes him, or it's someone that is, not making a lot of money that we can get because of their contract situation or something like that. But I don't think there is a scenario during this season that makes sense to trade Anthony for. I just, especially with the lack of being able to trade first round picks in the future.
Yeah. So people think Dame and Hart need to be in the backcourt together. Hart complements Dame. Simons is ineffective when he's not shooting hot. It's not hate. He's Poole light. What do you mean he's Poole light? Statistically, he's been better than Poole on the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
I hate things that are said that have no basis in fact, and you can be easily countered with just simple facts. How is he Poole light? I went through this yesterday. Poole's shooting 31% from the field on the season, and Jordan Poole is much better when he starts. So how is Simons Poole light, being that Simons should not start? That makes no sense, because he's been better, and Poole basically needs to start because he's nowhere near as good off the bench. Simons is not ineffective when he's not shooting hot because he still spaces the floor better than Josh Hart ever could. I'd rather have Anthony Simons' floor spacing when he's 0 for 10 from 3 on a night than Josh Hart's when he's 5 for 10 from 3 on a night, because teams don't respect Josh Hart as a shooter enough, because Josh Hart doesn't seem to respect himself as a shooter enough. How many times did that dude catch the ball behind the three-point line and he's open and he doesn't shoot the ball because he wants to drive it so bad and he's not confident enough in his shot? That's not a good fit next to Dame. That just means that defender guarding Josh Hart, it means you can almost hide somebody on him, hide a weaker defender on him, and that defender can just kind of sag off him and stunt at Dame and make things harder on Dame and clog things up. It's a much worse fit offensively, Josh Hart next to Dame, because Josh Hart can't play off Dame well. That's the problem that we're seeing in the starting lineup right now. I still think Josh Hart can find his three-point shot and be better. Where was that dude that we saw last year? That's the dude I wanted to see this year. We'd be a much better team if we had the Josh Hart from last year. Even the Josh Hart from Game 1. He dropped 20-something in Game 1. We need that dude. We haven't had that dude, unfortunately. But saying Simons is ineffective when he's not shooting hot is unfair, because there's been stretches where he's played good defensively, but he gets no credit for it. There's been stretches where he makes plays off the dribble for others, and he gets no credit for it. And then he draws a lot of defensive attention. If that dude's coming off a screen, it doesn't matter if he's not shooting hot. You're going to pay attention to him. That's what the Warriors do with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and it doesn't matter if they've hit a three or not, because they draw so much attention, it opens up cuts for other guys when they're moving off the ball. Simons does that. You have Josh Hart running off a screen, ain't nobody respecting that. So that's the thing that people don't consider, is gravity for an offensive player, the attention they draw from a defense, the floor spacing they provide, and then Simons just gets no credit for anything other than shooting. He has stretches where he makes plays for others, he has stretches where he plays good defense, and he never gets credit for that.
I believe he was 5 was he 5 for 5 or 5 for 6 from 2 last night as well?
Not good enough. He was 1 for 5 from 3. He sucked. 6 for 12, 50%. No, sucked.
Yeah. So, and some of the best defensive metrics, it's still not great, but he's a lot closer to neutral this year than, bottom of the league like he's been the last couple of years. So, we have this awful bench, and we're basically average defensively, Eric. We're barely below average defensively, with Dame and Simons as the starting guards. And people still are panicky about the defense to the point that they want to trade Ant for Scrubs, or they want to trade Ant for a trade that would never happen, or they want to bench him when he's not the problem. Well, see, I don't know the history behind this particular commenter, because I haven't seen him very much in chat.
I'm just speaking in general.
I know,
too.
but
I'm not even speaking anything particular.
BCM516 says you don't need 3 20-plus point per game scorers. Well, first of all, why not?
What's wrong with having 320?
Assuming we extend Grant, you can trade Ant for better role players. So we're going to go right back to having 2 scorers and a bunch of role players around them. No, we've already proven that's not how you do it. You have the top end talent. You don't then trade the top end talent for lesser talent, but just more for quantity versus quality. Like, you want as much quality as possible. And unfortunately for this team, they only have 6 for sure quality players that you can count on in a playoff series. I include the starting lineup and Gary Payton. And we've had Gary Payton for 1 game, so that's 5. And Dame's missed, 12 games this year? Every starter has missed at least a couple games, I think. So, this is a situation where we have 6 quality players. You need to add a 7th and 8th quality player, in my opinion. And role players you can add without giving up your stars. And if you can't, you don't deserve to be the GM very long, because that should be the easiest step to the process, is adding the 7th and 8th players, not trading your stars so you can have better 7th and 8th players.
People get too locked in on specific guys they want to trade. They get too locked in on specific problems that they want to fix, even if the problem's better and not as much of a problem. They get too locked in on the defense. But they don't consider, if you trade this guy, what about our shot creation? Do we have enough shot creation? Do we have enough shooting? Do we have enough, people get so locked in on what we don't have that they don't consider losing what we do have as being a problem. And it's just crazy how for years we were like, we need a consistent third scorer next to Dame and CJ. Nurkic isn't consistent enough to be that guy. We need that consistent third scorer next to our backcourt. And now that we have him, it's like, we don't need 3 scorers. We need to get rid of one of them.
I mean, it's just one person. Yeah.
But there's other people that have said that. I just don't understand that, man. Please tell me the logic in that. Because it's I argue with so many people in the past about how, we need top-end talent. We need more top-end talent. Now it's we got 3 guys that can score 20 efficiently. That's a great thing. Why is that a bad thing? I'm so baffled. You look at how we built the bench in 2019. I talked about this yesterday, but I'll talk about it again. Our bench in 2019, we had Seth Curry, Rodney Hood, Zach Collins, Enes Kanter until Nurkic got hurt. Enes Kanter was brought in off the buyout market. Seth Curry was signed for a 1-year, $3 million deal. Rodney Hood, we traded 2 second-round picks, Nick Stauskas and Wade Baldwin for. Mm-hmm. Zach Collins, obviously, we traded up 2 first-round picks, so that was the most expensive guy we got. But 3 of those guys we basically gave up nothing for outside of a couple second-round picks.
One of the first-round picks was our own. The other was we traded Plumlee for Nurk and a first-round pick and to get the second one.
Yeah. Little Scrappy says, Simons doesn't defend, Clay could. Scrappy, that's BS. You're just a Simons hater. What you're saying is just absolutes and generic and aren't right.
I mean, Clay tries hard still on defense. He's just a little slower than he was because of the injuries, so it's not quite. He used to be someone that they could put on Dame and just gave us trouble because he could stay in front of Dame, and he was long enough to disrupt passing lanes and stuff like that. He can just still do it in spurts, but yeah, it's nowhere near what it was.
Yep. Taylor Packer says, I just want to be clear on y'all's position. So you think if we get a better fitting starting 3 and upgrade the bench, we are contenders? And if, we're moving Josh to the bench, I think we could be. I don't know for sure how good that team is, but it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who the upgrade is, in my opinion. If we got... obviously, if we got OG or Mikal Bridges or someone like that, I think we'd be fine. But, if you look at it for the season this far, if we just had 1 or 2 players that were competent off our bench, I think we'd be pushing, maybe even Denver for the 1 seed right now.
How many close losses have we had that have been swung because we have a bench lineup that comes in and sucks?
We can't even outdo Denver's bench, and they're statistically one of the worst benches of all time when Jokic goes out. And we can't even we lose leads to their bench.
We're literally in every game, right down to the final couple of minutes. Every game that we lose, we're in, other than a couple. Like, I'll go look at the schedule before we wrap up this stream, because we do have to go in like 5-10 minutes. Sorry, didn't get to more questions. We can rapid fire things here in a second. But the last loss that like we were in down to the final minute was Denver, right, on December 23rd. The last loss before that we were into the final minute was December 16th, Dallas. Last loss before that was November 30th against the Lakers. In that span, we lost by 1 at Denver off the Jamal Murray game winner on December 8th. We lost by 2 off the SGA buzzer beater at OKC on December 19th. We lost by 3 at OKC on December 21st. We lost that close late game to Golden State on December 30th. And then we lost last night in a game that was close up until the final couple minutes. We lost by 7 to Minnesota. So 5 of our last 7 losses have been right down to the wire. And even before that Laker game, like that, we lost by a ton to the Lakers in Brooklyn, but we were very injured. Cleveland, Milwaukee, like that was a bad stretch. But before that, lost by 5 to Utah. Like, went down to the final seconds. Lost off a Royce O'Neal game-winning tip-in to Brooklyn by 2. We lost at Dallas by 5. That was the game where Drew Eubanks was in the final 3 minutes, and they hit 4 threes in a row, and Spencer Dinwiddie got hot. Earlier in the year, we lost after we came back against Memphis, and they pulled it out in the final couple of minutes. We also have a loss against the Clippers where we led by a ton and then just absolutely choked and lost late at home. There's so many close losses in there.
Yep. And
so just having a better bench swings some of those games in our favor.
Yeah.
Is how I look at it. And instead of being 19-18, you could be 22-15. Guess what? If you're 22-15, you're sitting here with the 3 seed right now. 3 of those games get swung because you have a better bench. You're sitting here with the no, not the 3 seed. You're sitting here with the 4 seed, but you're 2 games out of first. Like, and that's just 3 of those 9-10 close losses swinging your way because you have a better bench that doesn't screw things up when they get in the game. Because in a lot of those games, I bet you, because it's been a theme that the bench screwed up some of those games because they've screwed up a lot of games this year.
Robbie, I've given way too many clues, including flat out showing the name earlier in the stream, so quit asking me about that, please.
We got a comment. Nurk can't even clamp Luka Garza. Nurkic wasn't even guarding Luka Garza. Are you guys trying to make me bad? Like, bro.
Come on, James.
Why is it all on the bench? Nurk can't even clamp Luka Garza. Well, Luka Garza was coming off the bench, and it was Drew Eubanks in against Luka Garza. But, people don't want to criticize Eubanks. They'd rather criticize Nurk. So if Luka Garza goes off against Eubanks, it's Nurk's fault. I'm driven mad. We'll do rapid fire the next 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. You can make your point then. Let's rapid fire quick.
Well, so Zach Collins keeps getting brought up. Aeromancer wanted us to talk about the feasibility of it. I don't think it's realistic. As cool as it would be to have Zach back, he makes just a little too much. It's like a little over $7 million, I believe, and that's bigger than the trade exception. And I don't see why San Antonio would want Winslow and Nas or even Keon because they just drafted several guards. I don't think Collins is an option at all. Bri was asking about Max Strus. He's a guy whose contract makes sense. I just don't know if Miami would give him up, and we don't really have a lot of assets. So I don't know how that trade would work.
If you could trade seconds for him, sure.
But... Yeah, sure. Maybe if you could, there's a situation where Miami needs to clear some salary to stay, not pay tax or not. I don't know if they're hard capped or not off the top of my head, but maybe there's a situation where they need to dump a player like they did when they got Jimmy Butler and dump some players for basically nothing. We take advantage of that, sure. But those kind of players are tough to get. I don't see Miami doing it for Winslow in a couple seconds. No way.
I don't think they care to have Winslow back. Nas for Collins does put us in the tax. There's a comment. Nurk is solid. Do we need that much money wrapped up in a 5, though? I like Nurk, but trading for a cheaper center could help get some more bench depth. Trading for a cheaper center doesn't really help us get more bench depth because you got to give up asset value for bench depth, and just trading for a cheaper center isn't generating any extra assets. So unless you're trading for a worse center, which doesn't make us any better, it makes us worse because we're trading for a worse center. That's the only way you can get extra assets on top of just the center swap. And here's the thing. If we're paying the tax next year, and, you're using the tax pyramid level exception, which doesn't hard cap you, then it doesn't really matter how much Nurkic is making.
Nope.
Like, it doesn't, like, it's just extra money that Jody's paying. It's not restricting us from doing anything specifically outside of maybe Jody not wanting to do something because of a tax bill. So Nurkic's money I'm not worried about.
If you're just talking about this year, the most realistic center option is still Daniel Gafford. He makes just under $2 million, I think, 1.9 or something like that. So he fits into that realm where he's a pretty good defending center. He has a little bit of playmaking skills. He's good around the basket. And probably in theory wouldn't cost a lot. The hope would be that Washington doesn't want to pay him $10 million a year starting next year. But that's also the problem for Portland is, do they want to pay a backup center $10 million a year next year? But I still think that's, if you're just talking about someone that could help us this year that might be cheap to acquire, that's probably the best one to look at.
We got a dono earlier in the stream, and I think we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
No.
And YouTube won't let me see it. That's annoying.
I think it was like a New Zealand or something.
Oh, crap. It was somebody that I don't even know if they've donated before, which makes me feel extra bad because we read off all your donos. And YouTube sucks because I can't scroll back further in chat.
If you're the one that donated earlier, just tag either my name,
sorry
Eric
for
Brandt,
not reading it earlier. That's my apologies. Dang, I can't see it, and YouTube won't let me see it. I feel bummed out about that. Yeah, let me know. I know I'll recognize your name when I see it. Big apologies. But it's also YouTube won't let me get... YouTube needs a freaking dono feed. Rip City Kiwi? Yeah, it was Rip City Kiwi. Okay, yeah. Just, if you want to repaste it, I'll read it off. I'm sorry for missing it. My bad. YouTube... You can view a dono feed, but you have to have it active the whole time. So if you click off it to check like analytics during a stream or other things during a stream, it'll refresh the feed. And then, so like I didn't click on the feed early enough, so it got hidden. It's just dumb YouTube stuff. Like YouTube just needs a dono feed that I can click on that logs every dono and every message, but they don't have one that logs everything unless I like click on it specifically.
All right,
So.
Rip City Kiwi, can you just re-put your message?
Just post it, man. Yeah, sorry for missing that. Shout out Emma Lom with the $5 dono. That helped me remember. Shout out Emma Lom for helping me remember. And the $5 dono says, would you guys trade Anthony for DeJounte? That would give Dame the defensive guard next to him he has never had. Bounce back when GP2 comes back.
I mean, why does Atlanta do that, though?
I don't think either team
They just
should
gave
do
up
that.
3 firsts. And also,
I don't
mean,
like DeJounte Murray as a
off ball,
his
yeah.
mannerisms and like the stuff that he does on the court since he left San Antonio. I don't like that type of stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's just like the taunting type of stuff he does. I don't know. Like there's just some stuff I've seen that's just like I don't like it. But off ball, he's not as good as Ant playing off of Dame. He's not as efficient as Ant from 2 or from the 3-point line. His playmaking as a second guard, he averages 6 assists per game this year. Like, yes, he's better defensively, but you're sacrificing offensively, and you got to figure out how to... I just want to see this starting lineup with a better bench because we're near average defensively right now with a terrible bench. I want to see how good we can be defensively with a good bench because I think we could maybe push for borderline top 10. And if you push for borderline top 10, then you don't need to make that type of trade. That's how I look at it.
Also, I mean, I know Trey is different than Dame, I guess, but that hasn't really worked this year very well, having them in the backcourt. So if you want to use that as a template for how DeJounte would play with Dame, So no one's saying that DeJounte is a worse player or anything than Ant necessarily, because the defense is something that um, is key, or like would be nice to have. But in terms of fit, I don't like DeJounte's fit. And let's see what I just want to see where Atlanta is in terms of defense this year.
Yeah, and Kiwi. Yeah, Kiwi says that was his first dodo, and we accidentally missed it.
See, they're 16th in defensive rating, so they make a move, get one of the best defending guards in the league, and are barely better than us at defense, like with Anthony Simons. So yeah.
Cool. And then Rip City Kiwi had I think it was approximately $3 New Zealand dono. I believe it was, and your name's Rip City Kiwi, so I assume that's where you're from. But their message was, I see how Nurkic does everything for us now, cleaning up mistakes. I learned from you guys how to watch off-ball defense. My question was, who would fit better next to Nurk than Eubanks? Thank you, Rip City Kiwi, for the dono, your first ever dono. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players. Not necessarily fits better like in the lineup with Nurk, but because those two don't play together. But yeah, I think.
I mean, well, there is a guy that could maybe play next to him and behind him that I like.
Naz Reid.
Yeah.
Naz Reid is someone that Tori has always loved in that. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, just someone who's a little bit smarter defensively than Eubanks. Yeah. You look at someone like, I mean, everyone mentions Bam Adebayo, but like he was, a lottery pick and developed nicely. He wasn't necessarily that player coming out of college, but turned into that guy. And then we also see someone that was a minimum contract guy for several years. Either a late first, early second round pick, and that was Nicholas Claxton, who just re-signed with the Nets for I think about $10 million a year this year. But like you have to find, I think, in my opinion, a more athletic guy who can switch if he needs to, but is smart enough to recognize that that's not ultimately the goal of the defense to switch. It's only a last case scenario, but can also protect the rim as well. And you can find those guys. You got to find the next one. There's a couple of them in every offseason that are available for really cheap. But you just got to find those guys somehow and get one of them in here. Now, do we have one that's super raw in Ibubaji? Maybe, but like that's not going to help us this year because he's still a couple years away from playing.
Yep. Everything goes back to I wish Naz Reid was on this team, but now it's going to cost too much, so he's not even a realistic option anymore. Because, you look at a dude, obviously, if he plays starter minutes, he's not going to play as much. But as a backup center, use per 36. Well, here, he averages 18 minutes per game. So, right, if he was a starter, he'd play close to double that. But in 18 minutes a game, he averages 10.6 points per game. A block per game. He shoots 65% from 2 and 36% from 3. So per 36, if you care about that. If you hate per 36, that's fine too. But just to, extrapolate it out, per 36 minutes, he averages 21 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks, a steal, and then crazy efficiency. Yeah. Give me that, dude.
Yeah. And
he's 23.
Yeah. But that was
Missed
the guy
the boat
who
on him, though.
Could have been, I think, like his rookie year, he was cut several times and brought back on 10-day contracts, and then they signed him to a couple years for a minimum. So that was a guy who could have had probably multiple off seasons prior to now, including last off season once they traded for Gobert. Maybe you could have gotten him for cheap, considering he only had a year left, and then they would have to pay him or lose him for nothing. So yeah.
Yeah, I love Naz Reid, man. I love Naz Reid. That's my favorite backup center in the league, man. This team would be so much better if you had Naz Reid, because he could shoot. You could play Justice next to him, because he could shoot threes and do stuff off the dribble.
Rip City Lover said, "Would you ever consider packaging Sharp?" Um,
If it was for the right deal,
yeah.
yes, but
So
it'd have to be like
yeah,
somebody that's at least surefire all-star level player.
yeah, yeah. And this is, I mean, this is the line that Tori drew several times, and I completely agree with it. It's if that trade, you can realistically see a path to contention if you make that trade. I think you have to consider it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a piece that could maybe get you there or whatever, I don't think you trade players like that just to get another, like, to upgrade our small forward slightly, you know? Like, I don't think that's the right play. And unfortunately, like I see James mentioned Siakam, it's it's not about just trading Sharp for him. Like if we could trade Sharp for Siakam, I think you do that immediately, right?
Yeah,
Even if you have to throw in picks. But the problem is
absolutely.
Siakam is on a max contract making like 33, 35 million or whatever it is. And Sharp doesn't come close to matching that. So then we're talking about having to include Ant and or Nurk and other pieces and then we're talking about gutting our team for Siakam on top of giving up Sharp. So yeah, I don't know if that necessarily helps. And then there's now that we have Jeremy Grant, there is some positional duplicity there with him and Grant. So I don't know. Would you trade Ant and Sharp for Siakam if that was on the table right now? I
No,
don't see
because
either
I
team
don't.
doing that really.
Because I don't like Siakam is the guy. How does I don't know offensively? How does Siakam mesh with two scores that are better scores than he has in Toronto right now? Better than anybody else he has a score as a scorer in Toronto right now. Like, is he still putting up the same stats? Is he still having the same responsibility offensively? I feel like his offensive role will be a little bit lessened in Portland, and statistically he will be comparable to Anthony Simons, but I don't know if he could play off the ball as well. Defensively, he's obviously a much better defensive player,
Yeah.
but I don't he doesn't strike me much like he seems like less of an on-ball defender against guards than Jeremy Grant. But also you could start GP2 at the 2, but then shooting becomes a problem potentially. Like GP2 at the 2, Grant at the 3, Siakam at the 4, Nurkic at the 5. Like that's size, and defensively that's probably a top 10 defense. But
Well,
I don't know. It's just I don't know. That like I have questions about how that team fits and how it. That's the thing. If I'm trading Ant and Sharp, it's like I want to know that it's going to be a team that fits. So I don't know if I would do it or not.
dude, so Toronto has Siakam, Barnes, OG, Van Vliet's been considered a good defender in the past. They have guys off the bench like Chris Boucher and stuff who have been
Yeah.
considered good defenders in the past. Um, like, and they're 14th in defense. they're not even top 10. Like, I don't know. Like, something's not working there. But they also, I don't think they're going to necessarily trade the certain people that people think they are if they blow it up. I think they're going to start with trading Van Vliet and Gary Trent and trying that first. But yeah, I don't see them. I don't see them trading Siakam or OG unless they get like a Godfather offer, and that would be what you guys are suggesting plus multiple picks and probably another young player or something, and that's going to be really tough.
Yeah. Anyway, fun stream.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be live again tomorrow with post game show, and then Sunday it's an early game, which kind of sucks, but we'll have the post game show for that at like 3 p.m. We'll be going live, and then we'll have the Believe in Blazers podcast later tonight. We're talking about GP2 with a guy that covers the Warriors. Really good interview. It was fun. So a guy who used to work in the Portland radio scene, Evan Giddings, is his name. So definitely check that out. The video will be on the second channel. But yeah, we'll have maybe more Q&A segments for Blazers Uprise Live when we don't know what to talk about, and just let you guys get your questions in. And thank you for asking questions. Knew it was going to be a lot of trade stuff, but we're getting close. It's like a month away, so this is the time of year to discuss that type of stuff, and we'll have some videos coming up in the future for that. Anything else, Cirque?
Should we go after Vonleh or Gorgie Jang? No, I don't think right now, because if we sign him, we're over the tax. We don't have enough to sign players to even, once contracts become prorated, we still don't have enough under the tax to go in there. So I don't think they're going to sign anyone like that. Maybe if we traded multiple players, Gorgie Jang's an option for depth or something, but hopefully we improve our backup center and don't need to sign one like Gorgie Jang after that.
Yep, absolutely.
And then the only other thing I want to say is, please don't get worked up about fan voting in the All-Star game. It is 100% meaningless other than the starters, unless someone like Wiggins last year, cost someone a spot, but that didn't really matter last year either because the Blazers really didn't have anyone. But yeah, so I would say that just ignore it. Like, who cares that Austin Reeves and people like that are higher than Dame? It doesn't mean Austin Reeves is going to make the All-Star game, nor will he be selected by the coaches and players over Dame. This is silly.
Yeah, and if Shaedon Sharpe was playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, his name might be on the top 10 list. Like, that is the Lakers, so lots of fans voting for a guy like Austin Reeves. So it's nothing to read into whatsoever. Anyway, there was one other thing that I forgot.
Thank you for watching. Hope to see you all tomorrow.
Yep, and this has been Blazers Uprise Live, presented by BetOnline. Remember that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% rewards. We are out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.